when I look at the call sheet and it says 45 minutes to set up the first setup of the day, that's ridiculous. I haven't met anyone. I haven't seen what gear we're using. I have my gear that we're putting together. I haven't seen the location. 45 minutes, that's the amount of time to set up in between places. Not let's meet everyone and see what everything is. So I don't know how this first setup is gonna go, how long it's gonna push us back into the schedule and what that's gonna make me look like, but 45 minutes is tight. First, I gotta make a stop at Target because they asked for 2 client monitors and I don't have any of those. So I had to borrow them from a local, or rent them from a local buddy, added that onto my rate, but I didn't have enough HDMI cables. So hopefully I can find some skinny, flexy ones instead of the big, bulky, big ones. It looks like the shortest I can find is this, 4 feet, which is $6-7 bucks. Sometimes the whatever this plastic mold around here sometimes doesn't fit into certain monitors, but I think this might be the only option because the other ones are 10 feet, 15 feet, 6'6", 4 inches. So I might grab 2 of these, one as a backup. Unfortunately, one of the 2 cameras might have to have a 4-foot HDMI cord, but this is not a big box, so it must be able to coil up and be pretty flexible. So this is what we're manifesting, being a DP and being able to have a tiny little car. But it is packed. I've been trying to make the switch from corporate work DP to documentary DP, and this call came at the perfect time. In fact, it came very close, oddly close. It was 2 days before production began. I was on a job texting them, sending emails back and forth, my rates, and what they needed. So they're going to supply cameras, which was a dual FS7 package. You can see them there with some Fujinon MK zooms. And I had to supply lights and some client monitors. This is going to be the first setup for our interview. But all those videos you've seen me do where I'm talking about I'm switching out this gear or I'm changing this branding, I'm trying to move over to this direction so that people think of me as the documentary DP, all that tinkering. This is what it's for, so that I can show up and be a fast part of the workflow. There's a lot of specific things I want to share in this vlog, so I hope I'm able to get to all of it. So first off, this set is a higher level than I'm used to being on. So they requested client monitors, director's monitors in the 10 to 20 inch range. I was able to get a 21 inch and a 24 inch. The 24 inch is just a computer monitor. I rented them both, added it on top of my rate, and that is for Video Village. I felt like I embraced my inner Tommy Beal by seeing these Fujinon MK zooms and FS7s with the extension pack and V-mounts. Although the big issue I ran into in the beginning was setting these cameras up and matching them. The director said, hey, these just came hot off of another film set, so they will need to be matched for what we're doing. And I could not figure out how to just record XAVCI, and that was because the raw out was enabled to the extension back, and that's just something I never have to deal with the FX6. That is for the director to hear audio. And it was just these small things. When I have used FS7s, it was a long time ago, and they were set up and just handed to me. So thank goodness the menu was pretty similar for the FX6, but still there was a couple things, especially the I/O mapping. I could not figure out how to get a simultaneous feed from the SDI out to the HDMI out for the transmitter. So I'm setting them up here. I ended up hardlining the B camera HDMI because I could not figure it out and I didn't have time to spend to figure it out. Now, here's a weird thing. Half of the windows are ND'd with a very, very blue tint. I'm trying to mimic some sunlight coming off, but being more off to the right side, and then hopping over each one to break up the light dark in the image. So this OC is great. Color is great. This computer monitor to the right, that was wildly out of whack, the color. But when I check the cameras, they all have the same settings. So I think it's just the monitor color calibration is off. But that was tough to see. And then for this B camera, I really liked how our B cam op was zooming in and out. Basically, the A cam is locked off, so the B cam is really get creative, zoom in tight on eyes, on hands, on whatever, but give us something interesting to look at rather than just a locked off tighter angle. This brings me to two things. One, this is the interview I was least happy with, and that was because of the ND separation on the windows. The top of the windows were blown out, and I could not figure out how to get around that. Also, the color difference of the ND, besides choosing a different frame, which we had to shoot 4 interviews in here, I couldn't figure out how to mitigate that. So if you have any ideas, please let me know. And second of all, it is this mind shift. So as a corporate one-man band guy, I have set up all of my optimizations and workflows to be as streamlined and as efficient as possible, and that is not a reality when I am a freelance DP, because I do not have control over the entire workflow. I have control over my singular role, and a lot of times I don't know what tools we're using. I don't have the monitor set up exactly how I want. I don't have the knowledge of exactly which pieces for lighting are available in which bag. So luckily I could bring the lighting here, but that is a huge, huge change when I'm going from corporate one-man band, which is much less stress, much more curated, to freelance person in a larger crew where I have to move and flow and find out every new thing as we move. I don't even know what shoulder setups we have. It's every single thing is different. All right, we just finished, I think it was 4 different interviews. And the next one, which was supposed to be our first location, they're now having a reggae party. So sound is going to be an issue to the point where I think they're going to cut the interview, and we're just going to do B-roll. Car is packed, kind of. So we got monitor, lights, and then actually it's not that packed. I got my Kupo stands plus 2 more that I rented. Just a bunch of stuff inside that Pelican. And then here we go. V-mount batteries and a couple other transmitters and stuff. But this is a fun day. Documentaries are so different depending on what type of documentary. This one is not verite style on day 1 of production, so I'm sure they will do that at some point, or I don't know actually. But today was getting some foundational interviews inside air-conditioned rooms and not going outside, which in Florida is really, really nice if you are not doing any exterior work. So I'm gonna head to the second location now, and then I think I'm done. And that mindset shift is so apparent as I'm going through this day, because it's not just happening to me. This was actually supposed to be our first place that we filmed at, location 1. And when we arrived, there were some issues, so we had to go to where we shot location 2, which became 1. And if the director got all flustered, then the character would have been annoyed, and it would have spread throughout the whole thing. So he has to go with the flow. I have to go with the flow. Everybody has to follow the story, and that's part of being a DP, or part of being a documentary type of production. So you see the gel here on this Zacuto pad. I have been wanting to try this pad out for forever because I see so many cam ops using it, and it absolutely made a massive difference. There's more of a community sense on a documentary shoot. So this camera is almost like a community type of thing. The sound guy needs to tap into it. It's great for them to know the menu system so that they can go in and adjust time code without me having to be there. And, the B cam operator was also, we're assisting everyone. There's Velcro everywhere in case someone needs to throw something on there. It really is like a community type of tool. It needs to be accessed by everyone. It's crazy how this production company united me with colleagues in my city that I don't know. So I found some really cool new crew members, specifically a sound guy and makeup artist. And this is day 1 of 25, so they're mostly like building character profiles right now. These are not like integral interviews that have to be recorded. It's just building blocks. But there's going to be travel to Nicaragua to film the scenes down there that has to do with like the tobacco fields or tobacco plant for cigars. And I, of course, I'm throwing my name out there. Told him I got my passport. He's like, oh, great. And I told him I have functional Spanish, even though they speak Spanish on the crew, but it doesn't hurt. And I just want to see more international travel, more dock travel, but I might try to work something out with the camera package, because that thing was a beefy boy. And if I'm thinking about, how that would feel during international travel, shoulder mounted work, like that's tough. I'd rather use my FX6, so maybe I can get my rate in there or work something out. But overall, that was a super fun gig, and I can feel like, oh, I'm in a couple people's networks now just because of this job. So I hope more dock work comes. As I return gear to Vipple, I was just looking at this Hollyland Pyro 7, and he was telling me how well it works into his workflow, no need for transmitters, and it got me thinking. Hollyland reached out a while ago and said, hey, pick any piece of gear you want, and I was like, I'm good. Like, I have my older transmitters, those are fine. Now, I'm like, well, maybe I should look into this, because this could fit in very, very well. So I might reach out to them.